Hello and welcome to That Talk with Tariro. We're still continuing with our series where we are looking at women who are into entrepreneurship, but mainly hearing women's journeys. Oftentimes we see people having become successful in whatever field that they're doing, and we assume or think that it has been easy for them. But most of them, when we hear from them, there's a lot that we can learn from them. One such woman is Elizabeth Magaya. She is on the talk with us this week, and welcome to the talk with Tariro, Magaya.
Thank you.
Yes. Let's start off by hearing, who is Elizabeth Magaya?
Elizabeth Magaya is a lady with 6 children and an entrepreneur, a renowned entrepreneur. That's Elizabeth Magaya.
Where did she start from?
It's a long journey,
Yes.
and I think
we want to hear that whole long journey.
I think it's now when I talk about entrepreneurship and address myself as an entrepreneur. Of late, when this started, I didn't know that it's entrepreneurship because of the background I grew up in. I used to think kutambudzika.
Yeah.
And because I grew up in a broken family, and I became a breadwinner at the age of 9.
How?
And
how did you become a breadwinner at the age of 9?
Well, because to put food on the table, my father was not available, and I'm the firstborn of 7 siblings. Some are late now. So we used to stay in Highfield, New Canaan.
Yes.
So for us to put food on the table, my father had gone to stay with another woman, and my mother was chased away. So I was left with the siblings in Highfield. So to put food on the table, I would pick salsa in the beans, and then when you start, actually I became a street kid. We became street children.
Street children.
Yes, yes. Picking salsa from the bean, and as we are born, they are God-given talents.
Yes.
It's now I realize that, these were God-given talents. And God-given talents normally come with wisdom.
Yeah.
So all I knew, I had to look after my siblings. How? But to pick salsa in the beans and put it on the table. And the little, I think up to 13 years, that's when I did my primary school.
Kutanga grade 1?
From grade 1, no. From
Okay.
grade 1, I ended up my primary school at 13.
At 13 years,
that was the end of my academic history.
What?
At primary school.
Grade 7?
No. Then it was standard 6.
Oh, standard 6.
I think we were the last people who did standard
6.
And, of late, in primary school, they used to teach needlework, domestic science effectively. So I was very good with those practical subjects. So I took the little I had learned from needlework. So I started sewing and knitting, starting selling. And
when were you how old?
That was 13. But from 9 years, when my mother was still there, I used to go and sell vegetables in the street. I remember there were these other ladies who used to go and sell, buy from Machibisa, from Bari, from Ivins, Matumbe Ewoko, you name it. And then we could go and sell. I could join them because my mother was not allowed to do anything. So I could join her. So I would wake up around 3 a.m. Sleeping late is around 1 a.m. Waking up around 3 a.m. So when I was doing all that, I didn't know it was enterprising because I didn't know that word at all. Yeah. So all I was fighting is to put food on the table and survival.
Yeah.
So when my mother left, she left when she was finally chased. It was in 1969 when I was 13 years old. So I was left with the kids and everything. That's when I started sewing, picking salsa from the bin. The journey was really tough. So all I knew that if you sell something, you get, say, a penny or a tiki.
Yeah.
So that grew up in me. using my own hands and my mind for survival. So the journey went on. I started knitting, sewing, and that was my life. When my mother moved to Mtari, I joined her with the
You were how
other.
old, Papa?
I think I was 16, 15, 16. I started knitting. I think all the people of my age, they know the story, and I joined. I was asked in the Badela shop and Jan in Mtari. So I developed a skill of knitting baby says, jerseys, what you name it. Yes, using crochet. And then I could work 24 hours and don't ever think I'll sleep.
Huh?
And I think even now, I think it really affected my system. And I became a workaholic. So it was now getting better in terms of how I used to work, because I could even dream some of the patterns and just put it in the morning.
As a teenager.
We
will continue with our discussion after the break, where we have Elizabeth Magaya, who is now an entrepreneur. You know, when we're talking about entrepreneurs who do not make noise but are doing exceptionally well, she's amongst those women who are making waves in Zimbabwe. After the break, I want to go back to the issue yekumbononga sadza mustreet Magaya, because what I want is for people to know that your background does not influence or ensure that wherever you're coming from, that's who you are going to become in life. Join us after this short break. Welcome back as we continue with our discussion, where we are featuring women who are into entrepreneurship. So my Magaya, ndombozokera panyaya yenyu yekunonga sadza mumabhini.
Okay.
Manga muine imba manga masirwa nababa venyu anditi vabuda mumba vaenda mai vadzingwa, imi muri kunononga sadza. Chii changa chichinyatsoitika ipapapo kuti muzoti takunotsvaga sadza rinenge raraswa nevamwe?
Tatisina chekudya. Baba had gone to stay with another woman, and my mother was chased away, so I was left with the siblings. So to put sadza on the table, there was nothing. So I thought of going to the beans and pick sadza. And those times, van mainonga mabonzo mabin for resale. I could copy the other women. There was a lady who was our next door. She used to do that. Sakandaizo nonongane mabonzo tounganidza. I tell my siblings that tikangona mabonzo tinounganidza mota yacho yeso yachicollector, then totengesawo. And you know, it's very unfortunate you look young, and kare vanoziva with my age kwaive nemukaka waitwa tiki wainzi lacto waigara muma4 corner shape. I could buy that, then mix with water, then maybe it will take us 3-4 days. Then we'll put in one plate, and with that sadza to save. So I think it was just God-given wisdom, so that
preparing you for
when your soul, when you are feeding your soul, your body grows. Yeah. Actually, we were growing and knowing how we grew up.
Yeah. And going through all that, how did that affect your studies? You were almost like a mother within the home, but you were a baby who became a mother to her siblings. Kuzowana time yekuenda kuchikoro kuti ndakunoverenga, munhu uchidzoka kumba uchida kuziva kuti ndichapachiva nini navangu.
No, that time I'd already dropped school. I dropped when I was out of school. Yes, at age 13, and I did very well. I passed at Kuzane School.
Yes.
And but all my fellow friends, students, they continued. Most went to Hevel Secondary and some to boarding schools. But that was the end of my academic life.
Wow.
Which I later picked it up.
Yeah, I actually wanted to then say, with this fluent English, it's not somebody who dropped out of school at the age of 13. We'll hear more around that.
Yes.
So you were talking about, then you followed Mama Kwamtari.
Yes.
And you were dreaming about some of the patterns that you were doing. Continue sharing with us around that.
Well, now I was a bit
16.
17. Then I got married. And when I got married, I went to stay in the rural areas.
At 16?
Yeah.
You got married at 16?
No,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
At 19.
Okay.
19, yes. Then I had my first...
you went Kumusha?
When I got married, yeah, I stayed home in the rural areas. That's where my husband...
Okay.
With my... But still, I took up what I had. Because this is what I have is in my hands and in my mind. At home, I would start... I remember one year ndakarima mambaira. Yakutengesa and ndakatanga. My mother-in-law had a sewing machine, those old sewing machine. Then she said, I'm selling this machine. I said, mind pay shangu. Marie, and it's $40. She even gave me with the what? The card she bought, the receipt. She bought it at 16 pounds. And I bought it. So I started sewing. And I remember kwaka kangone vamwe vatete vaisenza kumapurazi. Saka ndaiti ndikauya kuno kundotenga machira ndosona ndoenda kumapurazi kunotengesa.
Chii chamaisona apa?
Tuhembe twevana, anything. Handina course, no what.
Maakutodhizaina
nekutosona. I'm a designer. I'm a man-made designer in everything what I do. Takutosona. So I ended up making money. Then when I came back to stay in Harare, I'll skip some of the chapters though. I'll skip some of the events. Then when I came here in Harare, my first daughter was now going to school.
Your child?
Yeah. I started planting vegetables at my hut, rearing chickens, sewing, knitting, that I didn't drop that. And you used to sew adenga, you know adenga? Cross stitch. For the chair, because you know those chairs, they used to put cross stitch.
So
I taught all my children, even the boys. I had no children who would go outside, the 6 of them. So in the morning we could cut and we sew, and with that sewing machine I used to go to Julie White, buy some materials, starting sewing petticoats and bedspreads.
Wow.
So I bought a small tin, those are my cash boxes. Then I used to put every money there. And so it's now I know that when you go to school and then you are taught that's financial discipline, which I was already born with, which I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I made money. I remember it 16,000. Yes, was it? Yes. I bought my first. I know before that I bought a knitting machine. So I started JCs. Now I could go to schools, I would go to clinics, wherever selling everything. So I think now there were a lot of things I was doing at the same time. So even my cash flow became a bit solid. So I bought that cash box. I put money. So, because I was not allowed to open a bank account.
Why? Well, we will continue about that. Cash box. In these entrepreneurship journeys, people go through a lot. We'll continue hearing from Magaya after the break. Welcome back. We continue with our discussion where we have Elizabeth Magaya on the show, a woman entrepreneur of note in Zimbabwe. So, Mangamsina bank account, money was getting into this cash box at home, mati vanga musingabvumidzwe kuita bank account.
Yeah.
Was it a law in the country or it was domestic?
It was domestic.
Okay, all right. You can continue.
Then I remember when I opened it, 16,000. I bought
16,000 Zimbabwean dollar.
That currency. What currency?
And yanga in a power
Yes,
time,
what
it
I
was
know,
powerful,
very powerful
than the pound. I
Yes,
remember that time.
It was
nearly 1:1. Yeah.
So I bought an embroidery machine. That was
your breakthrough.
My breakthrough. And I think I was among the first people who bought those embroidery machines. And when I bought that embroidery machine, I was doing it at home, in the garage. Now we'd moved from Glenview 1 to Glenview 7. I'd bought a stand there.
Ndoda kuti mutipe mastages iwayo kuti maamuri
Glenview 1
kuti tizopedzisira patichazopedza chirongwa cha people now knowing kuti saka ndokwavava uko from Glenview 1.
Then I went to Glenview 7 and I'd bought a stand and built there. I could work 24 hours with shifts. And we could supply those women who used to go to South Africa,
wow,
Angola, Namibia, all over. And I became a designer. I wish I'd brought one of the pictures where the books, I wish I'd brought some of the pictures. But my stumbling block was education. Remember, I'm doing this as an educated woman.
Yes.
I remember there was this guy, Wilfred Kachitsa. He was almost the same. He was a bit older than my children, but he used to like me and even the parents in Glenview. So he used to come to me, "My Magaya, my Magaya." That's how he speaks. My Magaya. He said, "Mimi vribe ningirikiri mimi. Tariro."
I didn't swear it.
And my Magaya. Then one day he came with an advert in the newspaper. He said, "You see, these traders are advertising for new exporters. My guy want to join this." That Then he did apply for me.
Wow.
He did everything. He said, "My guy have been accepted." Then I went to Zimtrade. But I think what was killing me now was inferiority complex. And I was very quiet and very reserved. Because I felt if I say something, I was exposing myself. And of that time, people knew me as my Magaiva Kasonyarara. which is now different. My Magaiva Kasonyarara. It was not because I was quiet. I was trying to hide some of the things. So I applied, I went on a 1-year program. And being a very quiet person, being a very focused person, I knew what I wanted. I said, "Thank you, God. Thank you, God," because I'm a devout Christian. I said, "Thank you, God." So I applied for a loan, my first loan, CBZ. I bought about 30 machines, heavy duties. I bought all the embroidery, all the machines needed in the industry. The overlockers, the straight sewers, the embroidery machine. I think I had now about 6. I got a shop at Machipisa. I opened another one in Chitungwiza,
Wow.
the Chitungwiza one. And I opened another one in Guero. I was employing now about more than 30 people, and they were who could do shifts. So I say to myself, because I write everything I do on paper, up to today.
Wow.
And I follow exactly what I do. First things first. So my mission and my main goal was, ndakatambudzika. Andidi kuti vana vangu vatambudzike zvandakaita izvi. So my focus was on my children. It was never on me. It was on my children. Vana vangu vagotambudzika zvandakaita izvi, no. So I said, I want to buy properties for my children.
For your children.
I want to educate my children. So those were my missions and my goals. I worked so hard. I remember I used to work 24 hours. 24 hours. I don't know why, where this energy comes from. So when we went to Zimtrade, they started these new exporters. We could go in the morning and Sheraton. That was my first time to go in a hotel. It's under Zimtrade.
Wow.
Said was. So they chose a few people with some products. They said we are going to for a trade mission. So my first travel with a plane, it was funded by Zimtrade. It was to Malawi. I cried. Mundege. So people, I became more and more reserved. And each time you could see me, I could pray. I remember when we went to Malawi, in the evening people would go out. I never went out. I went to my room. I didn't use any cent, even the stipends money we were given. I don't use any money. I was so lucky because all my products were bought. And then I don't know, there's a name they give. I would say it's equivalent to Jailos Jerry. They came. They said, we want you to go to our company, and we are taking everything. I was left behind. All the people came. Said, are you staying behind? I said, yes, I'm staying behind. I remember there was Mrs. Moffett. She's still there. And said, how will you make it? Because we are going to Plantain. Where will you? I'll follow. I said, will you make it? I've got this intelligence. I don't know. It's just God given. Find my way. Sold all my things, my money. Find a way to follow. They were surprised to see me. Atoshika mfunge. Ashika. How did you come here? Some of the people brought their things back. So what Zimtrade will do, after that they do a review of everything and pick other names. My name was picked again. Say we've got a trade mission where to Jamaica.
Wow. All right, my Magaya. We will, unfortunately, time is not on our side in this episode, and I am going to request you to join us again next week as we continue, because your story, I feel, is going to inspire a lot of people. Coming from Highfields, Kumbononga Sadza Mabin, and now when we're talking about the best address in town, that's where you are staying. We would want Zimbabweans to learn from you. We would want women to learn from you. Zimbabwe, we will continue next week with Mrs. Magaya so that we hear where she is. When we're talking about, she said, I said I'm going to buy properties for my children. We're going to hear how many properties from coming kukrosha, kuruka, shimajusi, shevana, madoiri, and where she is now. Join us next week. Make sure you don't miss it. Until then, it's goodbye.